Hello, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and good day. Thank you again for returning this week for our next session. As always, I'm so excited to be visiting with you today, to be spending this time with you, to be expanding on different ideas, concepts, and different nuances that hide in between. And today, our lesson will be about finding your inner yes. Yes, 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 yes. I think it's so important that we take times to realize who we are, what we are, and celebrate ourselves in the past, in the present, and who we could be. So, our inner yes is what we will be celebrating today. As always, you are more than welcome to grab your favorite beverage, whether that's a nice cup of water, a cup of tea, a cup of lemon water, whatever makes the most sense for you. Get into a comfy seat, whether that's that drive on your way in or out of work, on your sofa, or on the floor, and let's get into our message today. Now, I do want to give a quick disclaimer. I will be using some media from online, so I am invoking the Fair Use Act. So, as everyone may or may not know, when it comes down to the Fair Use Act, it just basically outlines that any mixed media or any media that does not originate from me is being utilized for educational purposes or entertainment. And I am saying out loud that it does not belong to me. It is someone else's art or media or message. However, we are going to use this in today's lesson to further a point. So let's start with this concept of taking up space. This is kind of how this idea of saying yes to your inner self came to me. Once again, finding your inner yes. So I was sitting around one day and I was just thinking about how important it is to take up space. Like, I think so often, just because of what is known as societal norms, we often get caught up on pretending and presenting and performing. The most instant thing that came to my mind is I'm in this work area and literally it's time for like my break. And immediately, I'm really big because I've practiced this, and this is what I also teach others to do. But I practice being able to say, I'm ready to take my break. I think that I've met so many people that are not necessarily aligned with me in coaching, but maybe aligned with me professionally. And they're like, I just can't take a break. There's too much work to do. I'm too busy for a break. No, I reject all of that kind of language and I reject people putting those implications on me as well. So when it's time to take a break, your body will tell you, your mind will tell you, even your work will start to become a little crappy. So even that's a telltale sign that it's time to take a break. But sometimes we're so caught up in pretending, presenting, and performing. We don't want to lose that idea of what people perceive us as and what people perceive us doing. And to that, I totally reject that whole notion. So, for me, when I'm talking to others and when I am living in my own regular, degular life, one thing that I always do is present myself with permission. So, in order to take up space, you have to be able to present yourself with actual permission to be. And you have to understand that permission doesn't start with your boss or your colleagues or your friends or the people that you hang out with, aka your social group. Permission starts with you. Permission is a result of you being in a space where you feel comfortable with your with who you are, what your body is telling you, and how you feel in this exact moment. So what that means and looks like is you've done the work to know that whatever you're feeling and whatever you're thinking, you respect and you acknowledge. Permission is also the result of you being your most authentic and truest self. You taking somewhat of an oath or a pledge to yourself. Giving yourself permission is a result of you being able to authentically meet yourself where you're at. And that can mean several different things, meaning you have trusted yourself to be able to speak up for yourself in times of need. It could mean that you are connected to your body in a unique and special way that maybe you were not beforehand. And it could also mean that you have come to the point and place in your life where you're okay with who and what you are. So, with that being said, in order to take up space, you have to be able to give yourself permission to be, permission to exist, permission to be okay with things and not okay with things. And with that last one, that could look like, hey, maybe everyone else in this work environment doesn't do breaks. That's great for you. But for me, I need a break. And that might be seen as like the quote unquote negative thing because you're doing the opposite of what everybody is expecting or what everybody else is doing. And that's okay. You need to know right now that it's okay to be different, especially when it comes down to catering to your spirit and your actual needs in this reality. No one ever needs to burn out. No one ever needs to overwork. And no one ever needs to put themselves in harm's way. So taking a break allows for you to create safety, to value yourself, and to prioritize your human needs and spiritual needs. So just thinking back to, like I said, originally when I came up with this and where my mind was at and what was happening, I also realized that when I did go ahead and take that break, I took everything that was valuable to me. I took my notebook, I took my computer, I took my favorite pen. There were at least 20 pens on the table, and I made sure that I took the time to sort through those and figure out what pen and marker I really liked and I really enjoyed. So that brings us to the next point of mindful intent. Making sure that you're doing things that are in alignment with you, that has a purpose, a function, and a meaning to who you are, what activity you're about to engage in, and meet you at your skill level or need/want level. So in this example, like I said, I'm grabbing the things that actually matter to me when it comes down to taking up the space. So I'm grabbing markers, pens, paper. I'm grabbing my computer because there's different ideas that I might want to research or different videos that I may want to watch or even different pictures or images that I would like to view that will place me in a place of peace and serenity essentially. So you have to take a moment and think about what that means and look like for you. That for you could look like a blanket with fuzziness on the inside. I know you all have seen this, like a blanket where it has like a pattern on the outside, but inside is like a white fuzzy. It could be that. It could be adding bubbles to your bath. It could be closing all your blinds so that you are in a blacked out space, or it could even be the reverse of that, opening all your blinds so that a lot of natural light and maybe even like the sounds of the outside can come into your home and come into your space and invigorate you in a new kind of way or the way that really, like I said earlier, brings you peace and serenity. Whatever that might look like for you during your moment of taking space is what you have to prioritize. So, in this case, I would even say snacks and stuff too, because there's so many times where you'll get into a practice and next thing you know your stomach is growling just a little bit. So bring a snack. I feel like I in this example, I definitely had a granola bar. Costco has these like peanut butter chocolate protein bars and I definitely grabbed one of those because I'm like, "Hey, this is my time for me. This is what I want. This is what brings me joy right now." So like I said, I had all the tech, all the markers, all the pens. And then lastly, take the space that you actually need. When it comes down to it, I hear a lot of people and I see a lot of people shrink. And sometimes, like I said, I hear it in their language where they're like, oh, well, I'm not good enough for that, or I'm not at that point yet. Or people say things like, I'm not the best at that, or some form or sort of language like that where they're shrinking themselves instead of saying things like, I'm super excited for the next level of this. I'm very capable, but I know there's more I could learn, and I'm excited to welcome that. You can also say things like, wow, thank you for this opportunity. I know that I'm good at ABC, but this gives me the opportunity to level up on this or to learn more about it or to dig a little deeper. And then on the physical side, I see a lot of people try to squeeze themselves. Literally, instead of saying, excuse me, or asking if this seat is available, people squeeze themselves into corners, into in between places of the couch or in between parts of the back of the room, and instead there's so much more space that the person could use. I've seen literal places where there's big sofas that people can just lounge on, or you're able to walk into a room and reserve that space. You're able to utilize any desk space that's available to you, but sometimes people don't use it. Like, I've literally been in environments where there's a ginormous table that can fit 16 people, but yet the person wants to nudge themselves in between a wall and the door on the outside of that office or the outside of that space. And it's like, you can use the space. It's okay. Going back to that first step, you have to give yourself permission. It's okay. The world will not end if you sat at the 16 chair table that is not being used or occupied by anyone. So, in this particular example, I found a space of a room that was not being used by anyone. I noticed that this room was often vacant. And one thing that I really loved about this room is that it had a door, so I could close the door, and it had a lamp that had like a warm ambiance kind of feel to it. So I was able to turn off the fluorescent light and turn on the warmer light. And that was very comforting to me and what I was trying to do. I had a book with me. I opened up the page that I last left off on and I started reading that book. I set my timer for 15 minutes and I just started to read the book and I got my highlighter and my markers and my pen and I just started highlighting and going through the book about the parts that I really enjoyed, the parts that I wish there was some elaboration on. And I actually was taking notes in the book as well. One thing about taking up space is that you have to figure out what space makes sense for you. One thing that I always advise others is when you are taking up space, and when we're talking about space, we're saying physical space in this, but we could also apply it to But we can also compare it to the space I had mentioned earlier, the how you speak about space and how you take up space in a professional setting or a social setting verbally. But right now, what we're saying is physical space, and some of the main indicators of that is, do you feel relaxed? Are you able to stretch out your shoulders or stretch out your arms and place your hands wherever is most comfortable for you? Are you able to sit in a way that's most comfortable for you? Whether that be, I always call it flamingo, like when you put one leg in a chair and then one leg is kind of just hanging free. If you're able to sit flamingo, if you're able to lean back in your chair and spread your knees apart from each other and just relax your hip flexors, are you able to kick your feet up or put your feet down or take off your shoes or keep them on? Are you able to get snuggy? Because some people feel really comfortable when they're able to bring a blanket or bring a nice snuggy sweater with them and help cuddle them up. So these are the things that you need to be checking in with yourself to make sure that this space is a good space for you. And last and not least, do you feel safe in this space? Do you feel safe to release and relax? Can you take a deep breath in this space and feel like, okay, This space is for me. I got this. Let me spread my stuff out. Let me pick out my favorite colors from this pack of markers and just relax. Or can I just look out the window at the ocean or watch the clouds roll by or watch the birds as they fly around and try to chase each other through the sky? All these things matter when it comes down to owning your space and taking up that space, whether it's for the 15 minutes like I had, or maybe it's for like a day or a week. I do believe that taking up space could look as small as a 15-minute break to yourself throughout your day, maybe once or twice. I think it should be longer personally, but sometimes with our work schedules and our family commitments, you need just 15 minutes for your day just to take to yourself. Or it can be something longer, like a 3-month long vacation or a 2-week long vacation. Can you actually feel yourself relaxing in this space? And that's the priority here. You are feeling peace, serenity, relaxation, and tranquility. So, when we're thinking about taking up space, the three main pillars that come along with that would also be vision, opportunity, and action. So, to complement what we've already spoken about, which is giving yourself permission to take up space, being mindful on your intent, and actually doing that thing. So, vision is you having the concept of what that could look like for you. So, what could taking up space look like for you in your everyday life? And I always think it's really good to have, of course, like skills or coping skills or tools in your arsenal. But also, one idea that I really love and I really think that people should practice is having a box of go-to items that can quickly bring you back into a space of peace. So that's kind of going to tie into our vision component. But when we're thinking of what brings us peace and creating that vision of where we want to be, what we want to do, that's where that quote unquote box of peace come into. So let's take this time to think about what that could look like for you. For you, that could look like traveling. It could look like family time. It could look like personal time. It could look like any of your hobbies. It can look like any of the things that bring you safety and comfort. It can look like the things that make you feel confident or strong, self sufficient, or motivated. So let's go with something that's pretty nuanced, which is motivated. So, one way that you take up space in this example is being able to feel, to be, and to embody the essence of motivation. I like this example because it can be so broad and it's could be specific to any any specific person in any direction. So, when it comes down to motivation, some things that might make you feel motivated, let's say you might feel motivated when you're learning something new. You might feel motivated when you're doing something good. You might feel motivated when you're standing up for yourself. And you might feel motivated once you complete something like building a birdhouse. So let's just look at some of those examples and put some tangibilities behind them. So inside of our box of peace is our vision. So like I said, our vision that helps us take up space is feeling motivated. Let's say your example today is you feel motivated when you learn something new. So, what type of opportunities are you creating for yourself to learn new things? Those opportunities could look like you reading a book slash completing a book. That opportunity could look like you actually going out, meeting new people, having new conversations up with people that you may not normally be around. Like say for example, you're originally from England and you go to Ireland, you just want to learn more about that culture, how their life is, and some of the ins and outs of that perspective. I can't talk today, so sorry. That specific lifestyle and their things that they like to practice, the things that they don't practice, and why they don't practice it. So, meeting new people, putting yourself in new environments gives you that opportunity to learn more. It could be things also like getting involved in organizations, nonprofit organizations such as like Feeding the Hungry or a Big Brother, Big Sister kind of program. So, having that roadmap allows for you to create the opportunity to feel motivated. But then, of course, that last step is the action. So, what are you going to do? Are you going to drive to Ireland? Are you going to contact the admissions coordinator so that you can speak to the nonprofit organization to see what days of the week that you could come in to volunteer? Are you going to go to that local bookstore and pick up a few books? And even with the bookstore, sometimes it might even start with you Googling and doing some research on what kind of books you want to read and placing an order for those books to be at the bookstore because sometimes books that you might have in mind for yourself are not readily available at the bookstore or at the library. So sometimes you have to place an order for those type of things. And then, of course, wrapped up in that is doing the actual action. So you've done all these things. You want to take up space. You know that you really feel like that when you are motivated. You're going to go ahead and call Barnes and Noble and order the newest book about, I don't know, eczema because not only do you suffer from eczema, but you might have friends and family that have eczema, or maybe you just are curious to different skin conditions and why they act the way that they act, and are they triggered by certain things or not. So maybe you're going to dive deep into that because this is something that you're curious about. All in all, these are opportunities for you to take up space. And one thing that you learn when you take up space is that all roads lead back to you. So the key part here is you're learning and you're diving deeper into yourself so that you can be more of yourself. You're exploring other branches of yourself. I kind of like to think of it like an octopus in a way, but you are that core part of the octopus, but you're also all of the tentacles that come along with it. So by taking up space, you're learning more about yourself, more about the things that you like, the things that you don't like, why you do and don't like those things. Why are certain things more important to you than other things? And you're being able to give yourself, once again, there's that word, permission to actually be in that moment, be in this time, be in this emotion, be in this thought. I like to share with people sometimes when you're by yourself and these things are coming up, there's a lot of emotions that you may be experiencing, along with a lot of thoughts, and they're all important. I think one thing that people try to talk about when they share thoughts about meditation is that you need to quiet the mind. But in all honesty, all the stuff that's coming up for you are things that are important to you and have value of some sort. So, in these moments where you're taking up time for yourself, whether that be in absolute silence or where you're listening to nature sounds because you're out in the woods, or you're opening up your window so that the sounds from outside can come inside, or whatever the case might look like for you, you're at a play or a cinema, it's important to think about and have things to think about and realize what those thoughts mean to you and why they are coming up in these moments and reflecting on them and say to yourself, not only am I understanding and being patient with myself with these things that are coming up for me, these emotions, but also how do they make me feel? Why do I believe I'm having these thoughts? Why do I believe that this is coming up right now versus yesterday or tomorrow or a week from now? What has happened in my environment and what is happening in my environment that's bringing me here? So, all of these things are super important and they reveal to you valuable things that you need to know. So, say for instance, you're having some time to yourself. You're probably like, 30 minutes in, you told yourself you're going to give yourself an hour break to take up space, right? And you're 30 minutes in and you're like, man, I'm lonely. And you sit with that thought and you say, am I lonely? And then the next thought is, well, how do you define loneliness? And then the thought after that could be, well, loneliness is based on how many people you have around you. Then another thought is, no, lonely is based on how many people care about you. Then the next thought is, no, loneliness is based on how many people have access to you. And then your thoughts continue to fill. As these thoughts are coming to you, to a person that's new to this, I would advise that you pick the thought that has the most impact on you. Say, for instance, none of those other questions actually like hit you in the core, but the main one is out of all the questions that was asked was loneliness is based on how many people care about you. Maybe that's the one that really made you feel like, I feel that. Pick that one apart and say, why is this one so important to me? Ask yourself that. Why is that one so important to me? And sometimes that can lead you into, well, because I just moved to this new city. I just moved to Seattle and I've been here for about 6 months and I haven't really been able to make any true connections with people. So maybe I feel this way because I'm not connected to people. And that will lead you to your vision, which is, do you feel like you are valued when people are connected to you? So then you have to say to yourself yes or no to that. And depending on your answer, that will lead you to your opportunity. So it's like, okay, if you're the type of person that feels like you are more valuable when you have people around you, what does that mean? Can you have any people around you? Is there specific types of people that you would prefer around you? Are there particular environments that you would prefer to be in? So, once again, like I said, these questions that come up allow for you to create a path for yourself that's more fitting to who you are, what you need, and how you want to progress in life. And always give yourself permission to change these things. Say, for instance, you go this route and you say, hey, I'm going to start going out to these networking events every weekend, or I'm going to start going, let's say you love to run. I'm going to start going to these weekly run clubs and see if I can meet people. And you try that for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, however long you feel is necessary for you. And let's say on the one side, you're like, yeah, this is really good for me. Like, I'm really meeting people that seem like we have similar values, seem like we have things that we care about together, etc. So that's great. But then on the flip side, let's say that you do these things for a period of time and you're like, actually, I don't like none of this. I don't like these people. They suck. They're very superficial. They only care about running gear. It seems like they don't have any other cares. Let me find something else. So give yourself permission to try other things and new things while you're going through this process of leading yourself back to yourself. So that brings me back to how we started this conversation. I also do believe that some of the things that I share throughout this process are kind of bigger chunks, during the run club or taking up a private room in a business or infrastructure setup. But also some of the other things that you can do that are as valuable but a little bit more accessible would be little things like giving yourself a good drink. Say, for instance, tea is something that you really care about, or that frappe latte with the extra puff pop on the top and the cold foam on the side is something that really brings you joy? What if just taking a walk is something that brings you joy, or even just sitting down with yourself and manifesting the life that you want to have for yourself? These things are also as valuable as going on vacation or any of the other things that I've shared so far. So, I did come across a few videos on TikTok that I do want to share, just showing other people enjoying themselves. And we may talk about it a little bit, but it's pretty self-explanatory as well. But I do think it's worth seeing. So I do want to share those with you in case it motivates you in a way that is new or anything like that for you. So here we go. So I'm not going to play the sound because copyright infringement. And it's Linkin Park in the background. But dancing is accessible to everybody, and it's something that can bring you joy and bring you closer to your inner self. Especially this, like this guy is really skilled. I can't do that. So this is great.
Good sign because
I'm
of the
gonna
fact that that
I'm going to restart this because it started off on mute. So let's restart this.
thing that we're bound to based on what you guys signed because of the fact that that contract didn't come from us.
We cannot legally have two different contracts that state two different things where talent is under the impression that we're all getting paid one thing and then a month or two go by and it's mistake on our that wouldn't hold up in the court of law.
So I selected that one, and I did not want it to keep playing in the background because I did not want it to be distracting. But standing up for yourself is also one of those key things that brings you back to yourself. And being able to call someone out when they're doing something wrong, like if especially if it impacts you or other people, being able to say, actually, no, that's not what we agreed upon, or that's not the right thing to do, or that's leaving certain people out, or that's discriminatory. So, being able to stand up for yourself and others and people that you care about is another way. All right, there's this one. Again, there's music playing in the background. So, to ensure that we don't get any strikes and get this video taken down, I am going to take the sound off of that. I think the talking ones are a little bit more flexible, but who remembers this? Who remembers this thing? I don't even know what this is called, but I remember it. So, getting back into some of those activities that you did when you were younger and some of the things that brought you joy, some of the small little things that mattered to you and were things that we did before phones took over our lives. So, and I really love this also because it does help you like practice with your breathing. Anything that has like breathing involved or allowing for you to take deep breaths is super good for you, whether that's blowing bubbles, blowing things like this, sometimes screaming and shouting, sometimes just taking a deep breath. All these activities that incorporate breathing is a good break.
Take me to Bangladesh, you'll never cook me sausage on an open flame. Never.
So, singing is another one. I'm not for sure. I've never heard of this song before. So I don't know if this is a real song or if he's making things up, but even improvisation or just singing overly exaggerated, but also singing because opera does is performed like this, so it does look a lot like this. But whether you're just singing along to some of your favorite songs or just singing in general, making up new random songs or pounding on the table, pounding on the wall, beating your feet, whatever the case is, allowing that energy to flow through you, with you, and around you also allows for you to connect to your inner self as well. And then last but not least, put in that stuff on. Put that outfit on. Put those earrings on. Whatever. Get that fresh haircut. Put on that watch or whatever. Whatever makes you feel good about yourself, about your body, about you being in a place or going to a place or even making a big deal out of it. I love hearing so much where people make a big deal about them going on like a solo date or taking themselves out. So whatever that might look like for you, I invite for you to do all of the things that once again brings you back to your inner self, okay? So, again, this has been your coach, Coach Bailey. It's been such a pleasure speaking with you today. I hope that you are manifesting the life that you want and you deserve. I hope that you are finding peace within yourself and peace with others around you. As always, I am always open for booking sessions. So you will find all of that information in the description below. And then, of course, if you have any other questions, do not hesitate to reach out to me. You'll just fill out that Google form that is inside of the newsletter link and just ask me any questions you want and we can go from there. But again, I hope that you have a prosperous rest of your week. I hope that you have all sorts of reasons to smile this week and all sorts of things make you laugh this week. And as always, I look forward to seeing you next time.